What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's going on, man? What's going on? Welcome back, y'all. We are live here again on Monday for Marriage Monday Live. And tonight you got the fellas, you got Daniel over here on the West Coast, Dennis on the East Coast. Looks like
East
our wives
side.
are are busy tonight doing some other things. So you got us tonight, and we're gonna chop it up about the topic that we're continuing from last week: top 10 money pain.
Up, you went mute. You're muted. You're muted. There we go. Sound like you muted yourself.
Okay, I'm not sure why I keep going mute. I don't think I'm hitting the mute button or anything, but so how was your rest of your week last week, man?
It was good. I had Friday, went to a conference, and then I had today off, so I got to get a chance to unplug. And as many of you know, been kind of also handling with my brother, his wife, kind of dealing with some health issues with my mother. So we've kind of been dealing with kind of some planning with that. So he's headed back to well, actually he's in Detroit again, and so he's my mother's about to receive some what do you call it, a radiation treatment this week, and so handling that. So we've been just on that whole little spectrum, from that standpoint. Of course, last week I was gone there to handle stuff. So other than that, getting back into the thick of things back here in Florida, and ready to chop it on up, sir.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm we over here praying for y'all and your mom and everybody, and hopefully I'm trying a new setup over here, so hopefully it'll cooperate. So let me know if I go mute again or if I freeze. But hey, we're gonna just get into it. Hey, if you guys are joining us live, let us know where you're joining from, who you are, and if you're hitting us up on replay, drop it in the comments. Let us know you're hitting us up on replay. And either way, thank you for just being a part and chiming in with the conversation. So last week we started with top 10 money struggles that couples deal with. And this is when the rubber meets the road, when expectations meet reality, when the money don't meet at the end of the month. All those are issues that we deal with as couples or have dealt with at some point if you're not dealing with some of it now. But so we got through those first three. Let me just recap real quick on the first three that we covered. We talked about housing affordability. Number one, we talked about child care costs. Number two, and we talked about just the general economic stress from inflation. Eggs cost more, butter costs more, milk costs more, baby diapers cost more. So
Yeah.
meaning it's squeezing the pocketbook. We're out of that stage, you and myself, but
Yes.
I do remember it a lot, even though it was like
I think it hits me more or less when I see other people going through it, and you're thankful that you've successfully been able to see your kids cross over into adulthood, and so it's a wonderful time, and it's not to say that we didn't put in the work. I think I think some people, when they're in it fresh, they say, you don't know what I'm going through. And I said, I already been through it. So it's good to be on the other side, and and then the other challenge is now, helping your adult kids become successful adults, which I think that's a great opportunity for them, because some people don't get that.
absolutely. So let's jump on into number 4. I know we've dealt with this, and just being in a society where credit is used a lot, you can fall into
Mhm.
this trap real easy. But the credit card balances and rising delinquencies. So I'll just read the statistic that we took a look at before we got on tonight. Total household debt 17.8 trillion. So this is including credit cards, but this is just total debt. So this includes the mortgage and everything. But it's a lot. Trillion. I can't even wrap my mind around what is 17.8 trillion. So, and that is with the credit card delinquencies trending up, 90-day plus card delinquencies hitting decade highs, and the average card balance being about 6,700. So the impact that has on families is the fees and the interest gets in the way of the goals that you want, to put your money toward. And sometimes it's just shame, defensiveness. You get into fights in your marriage because of the pressure that this is bringing on and stuff you didn't got yourself into that you can't pay back, right?
Yeah, I would say I'm definitely, me and my wife has been in victims of this, and this is again no judgment towards anybody who has a credit card balance, or it might be excessive, because over here we have been through the same things. Life happens, and sometimes you might have to make trips, and sometimes um, that's where we had fell into with certain things. Now we're diligent in paying it off, but while you're paying it off, you're thinking about the interest rates for some of the stuff, and so that you got going on, and so it becomes a stressor, so to speak. Where you're like, you got a percentage of your income going towards paying off these credit cards. And I'm speaking for ourselves. I'm not speaking what we know about other people, but I have definitely been in this area where we use credit cards. Mostly we use credit cards for travel and everything like that. And then we also use it to collect points um, with certain things. So we use a good percentage of to get points for flights and everything like that. And so we use our credit card a lot. Um, of one particular one, but then there's other stuff that we have to pay off. And so I understand that side for us, that there has been some credit card debt that we have really been tending to, that probably, if we just stay diligent. Now again, we are strategic on one credit card because we like to gain the points so we can use it for flights and stuff like that, gaining points. But we definitely know with one credit card, we've been diligent in paying it off. But the one thing that we had to deal with is that interest rate. And when we look at the interest rate, it's like, oh my gosh, you know.
Yeah, it's I think interest rates are like above 20, 22, 24 nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can be expensive.
Yeah. And then with some of them, like one of our credit cards, we got an American Express one, so you also got to pay an annual fee at the end of the year. It's pretty high.
Yeah, yeah. And what's the I guess for you the advantage of paying like an annual fee for an American Express? What are the perks?
Again, that was a Delta American Express card, so you can get free luggage, all that other type of stuff. So they ran a promotion so we can get points, and so that was one of the reasons why we had got it. And so that's what we use when we're flying Delta and everything like that. We get those type of points. So that was one of the things that they had a running promotion, and so we decided to get it because we were traveling a lot, and so and we're still traveling, and so it kind of helps with using certain points. You can also use it for rental car, but not knowing, because it was just that was the only, it was American Express. It was that. So now that you have it, now you got to pay it. you know,
Right.
uh, now when you sign on that dotted line, now you got to pay it. So that was one of the reasons why we had got it. So from that standpoint.
Yep. And I think the thing that that gets us sometimes is we'll get the card and say, hey, we're gonna pay it off every month, and you go on vacation, you spend the money, you come back, and you kind of sort of pay it off, but you don't really. And you do that a couple of times, and then you're at either maxing it out or a little bit more than you can pay back at once. So that's kind of how it gets you.
Yeah.
But paying that thing off every single month is the goal if you have it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's the goal. And sometimes when you look at the balance, it could be sometimes you're like, oh, it's like we hadn't really paid off that much. You might even paid off what you used on it for the month, but you still got another lingering balance for some from other things that you might haven't used it for. And so it's like, man, you need to hurry up and pay this. And so I think we manage it, but I think you definitely have to be very strategic and paying off so that you don't have to deal with the interest every single month and everything like that. So credit cards is about discipline. And for some people, paying those minimum, that's kind of a lifestyle for some. And it's tough. It can be tough. And again, I understand it.
Yeah, it can be really rough. So one of the things that I think about here is when you are investing, for instance, let's say you got $20,000 invested, and the going or what's considered a good investment return is about usually use like the S&P as a benchmark, and that is right now I think returning about 10 to 11% a year if you're looking at long term 10 20 years or whatever. And so if that's returning you 10 11%, and I'm just using 20,000 just hypothetically, let's say you got 20,000 on a credit card, your credit card is eating 20% every single month. So that's compound interest going in the opposite direction. So even if you're invested at $20,000 at, and you're getting a good 10, 11%, you're actually still in the whole 10%, 10 plus percent, because you're paying the minimum on the card. So I would, I used to say, don't have credit cards, cut them up. But now it's like if you do have one, right, and you are trying to make sure you have something for the future, be thinking about the fact that if you have a credit card that is just staying around like a pet and you never are paying anything beyond the minimum, then even your money invested, depending on how much you got, that credit card is beating you up, right? It's defeating the purpose, because it's just like inflation, it's eating any amount of money that you would have gained with your investment.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, because besides cultural conditioning, do you think we could probably be without credit? And I use credit card is because it's a form of establishing credit, because we know establishing credit is for mortgages, to get a house. We know it's for to get a car. Some people don't have 20 25 grand in the bank to just go out and buy a car outright. And I'm not talking about a brand new car. I think used cars are running about that much now with inflation.
Yep.
Do you think we can do without it? I mean, I know there's a possibility, but with the cultural conditioning and how certain things or systems are set up here in America, per se, don't know whether it's like in other countries. Do you think we can live without using credit?
I think you can. It just depends on the trade-off that you're willing to make. Right. So I was watching some things on YouTube just today where it was YouTube or Facebook, one of them, where so the options today, one of the things that we use credit for the most is our mortgage. Right. And that's probably the one that I would say is very, very difficult to get away from if you are going to own a home, right? Because homes are
Mhm.
very expensive and most people don't have $400,000 just to plop down on a house.
Mhm.
So that's one that in 90 to almost 100% of Americans are going to have, if they're going to own a home, probably going to have a mortgage. So that's one that's typically acceptable in terms of, even if folks don't like credit or preach against credit, that's one that they make an exception for, right?
Mhm.
Even the Dave Ramseys of the world, they're like, well, you can get a mortgage, but make sure it's 15%, 15 years, and you got 20% down or something like that.
Mhm.
Those numbers vary a little bit, but that's typically where he's at, or where his organization is at in terms of how they teach that. Now, when you get into credit cards, I think definitely think you can do without credit cards. Um, Again, some people get them and try to use them to establish credit, but there are better ways to establish credit now, or there are other ways beyond using your credit card to establish credit. Now, you can pay your bills on time, because they have options of adding your bills to your credit report. And as long as you pay them on time for an extended period of time, I think it's like 3-6 months, then it starts to boost your credit or give you credit. So that's a way. And certain, I think, bank accounts, like I've heard of Chime and some others. So if you're paying like your bills and using those types of accounts, like even your subscriptions, right? Paying those on time, you can kind of boost your credit using those. Experian has this thing called Experian Boost, where they're looking at bill pays and rent pay and things like that to add to or boost your credit score.
Mhm.
Um, and then if you do have a credit card, I think one of the things that you got to be paying attention to is not maxing it out, keeping it at like 30% utilization. Because as soon as you max it out, your credit score is going to drop 20, 40 points just like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The good thing is, I've seen, because I monitor my credit report, um, as you move up and down in terms of the utilization of your credit, if you reduce it, credit score goes back up. And if you increase it, it'll drop, right? And it's not like small numbers. It's like 20, 40, 50 points it'll move. So
Yeah.
there's things to
Yeah.
be aware of when you're dealing with credit and credit utilization.
What do you think about when you're traveling and using credit cards versus your regular debit card? Like I prefer to use a credit card to rent a car versus my own personal debit card. So what would you say about in that particular instance?
Again, it just depends on your personal preference. I think you can definitely use a debit card. Um, I am actually more comfortable using a credit card when it comes to renting cars and renting hotels and things like that. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll rent a car with the card, but then when I get back, I'll use the debit card to pay it.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it just depends. You definitely can use the debit. When you use the debit card, though, it's going to put a hold on your card, right? So on your account. So you got to make sure you have enough money, and I think it's somewhere between 250 to $500 of a hold that they'll put on your debit card. And as long as you got that, you should be able to get away with it. So if you can't get a credit card or don't have a credit card, then you can usually move around the world with a good debit card. There's some companies that won't take a debit card, but the places that we've rented from and we've stayed at, they typically will, take the debit.
Yeah. And that's I think the only thing I'd be thinking about is of course we attempt. I won't say we're perfect because our balances definitely fluctuate. Um, but it's I think it's a little more safer for us, especially when you rather have your that credit card, even though with a debit card you are still protected to a certain extent. But now with all this other stuff that's out there, but we it's just more of a preference for us because you know we might have because our pretty much our we got some of those more higher balance type of cards, so we're able to you know buy 3 or 4 plane tickets, especially if when talking about the kids or something like that.
Yeah.
In the past, you can do that versus using your personal money and everything like that from that standpoint. But I do understand, and I think it becomes um where when you look at what you have for your credit card balances, whether you're doing excellent or you're the person sometimes like with us that need a little more discipline, making sure that hey, because those balances go up very quick. it's not
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like okay, I'm going to use a little bit of here. I think and we try not to buy again one card we're using. We use it for a lot of other things. We use it for groceries and all that other type of stuff because we're trying to accrue points, right?
Mhm.
From that standpoint. And so, of course, what we have in our budget, we'll pay it off with the money that we use. It's just those little small things that I think sometimes people are spending using their credit card for stuff that that's purposeless, if I can say that like that. And I'm not sure if that's a good
Yeah,
word.
yeah, and I've heard other people say the same thing where they'll there are some folks they call it velocity banking, and they'll use credit to pay for everything, and then when the paycheck comes in they'll pay it off, right?
Yeah,
So it builds that credit. I've never used that. I've never done that, but I mean I understand um, it can make sense mathematically, but behaviorally it can get you in trouble if you are not disciplined enough to okay, I put all this stuff on the credit card. Now my check came in. Oh, I'm about to go to the game, or I'm going to buy these tickets versus taking that money that came in and paying that credit card off, right? So
right.
that's the trouble you can get into because life continues to happen, opportunities to spend your money in a myriad of ways come at you every single day. So on that day where you're supposed to be sending that check in to Visa, now you spending it on something else, and that's where people get into trouble.
Yeah, that's exactly. And life be life, and people have their habits, and so that's I think that's the biggest thing. I think I would love to say that it's uh 50%, well, let me say 65% humans, our faults. But then there's another part that I feel like there's straight up marketing that gets people every single time. I
Uh-huh.
think about I
Mhm.
think about just like I don't know if people think like this, but I was like over the past few years, I've been looking at the prices of cars, right? And I used to be a car person. I like all different types of cars. I was used to work in the automotive industry, so I know a lot about cars. But when I talk about pricing of cars, just with over the since 2022, I'm seeing cars costing $100,000, $70,000, and they're acting like people got that type of money. Now I know there's a few people that got that money, but I'm like, dude, $100,000 for a car?
That's crazy.
That's like a house.
Yeah.
And and um and what I always look at is even if you did have the money to spend that, I'm like, that car, it won't be worth $100,000 after you drive it off the lot. It's gonna probably depreciate close to maybe 20% when you drive it off the lot. So you're not gonna even get that money back. And depending on what type of car you get, unless you get some exotic car that you're gonna hold
No,
for
you're
your
right. You're right. Most of the time, you ain't getting that money back. Most cars don't go up in value, right? They most almost 100% of cars go down in value.
So I
So
want. So why did why is these who told people they're making this exorbitant type of money to pay for these cars? I mean, and it's not just a few cars. I'm talking about. I'm not sure what the average is. I really don't know what the average cost of a particular vehicle. But I mean, even if you're talking about 25 and up, that's a lot of money. If you're going to put $25,000 or get a loan for 20, that's a lot of money. That's a lot. That's not like, you know,
yeah, that's why. So one of the things I teach my kids, I've taught my kids, because I did this when Kendra and I were younger, coming up. I drove beater cars. I drove cars that where I could buy, I could spend $5,000, $10,000, and it'll last me for 10 years. That's what I did in order to take the difference of, say, if I would have gone and bought a $40,000 car or a $30,000 car, even if I did it on credit. Let's say I didn't drop all that cash. I would never drop all that cash on a car for a personal car. But even if you do it on credit, now you got a $400 or $500 a month note. And I just look at, let me see, do I have my calculator here? I think about the fact that the money that I am dropping on the car, I could take that money and put it in some money market, or even if it's just a money market, that's 4 or 5%. But buy the S&P 500 or buy an ETF that's going to give me 10, 12% a year. And so by the time that car wears out, right, 10 years from now, I would have, instead of that 20, or let's go with your number where people paying $70,000 on a car. And so you're putting $500-$600 a month. That's $5,000, $6,000 a year times 10 years, 60 grand that you would have put into a vehicle, meaning a stock market, some type of vehicle that's going to actually give you money back over that period of time. So you have kind of robbed yourself of that, wealth building is what it is. You've robbed yourself of that by pouring it into a car that went down 20% as soon as you drove it off the lot, right? Not to mention so we just talked about the $500 a month note. We didn't talk about the insurance, the maintenance, right? And the registration and the title and the taxes that you're paying on it every single year.
Yeah.
So
I
so,
think
I'm not doing it. I'm not. I won't do it.
Yeah. Now you have been very
because
disciplined.
you have very decent cars that you can buy that's much cheaper than that. And they're not like, we don't drive a beater car now. We got a Ford 2016 that we bought a few years ago, barely had any miles on it. It belonged to an older lady, and she took very good care of it, and it's fully loaded, right? So it's got everything, and so it's a nice car.
Now I've been knowing you for a while, over 20 years, and I can definitely say that I have seen that with you. You've been very disciplined, and you have even been to a fault, like, I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that, and so I think, certain people wish that they had that discipline. So let's not talk about the disciplined people right now. Let's talk about some of the people who are struggling paycheck to paycheck. What do you feel like a person that's like you, who's been very disciplined over years, what would be some strategies you would tell a person that's living paycheck to paycheck, that is a spender? They have trouble with they're conditioned, and hey, I want something, I deserved it, I worked hard this week, worked hard this month, so I'm going to buy me this, whatever this is. um, and I'm going to probably use a credit card. What would you say to the best advice in a loving way to a person like that?
Think about the consequences of what, because if the idea is, I've worked hard, at the end of that working, you have to use the credit card to get what you need, then to me that's a tough situation, because it means that as hard as you're working, it's not enough for you to be able to enjoy yourself, right? It may be enough to cover your bases, but it's not enough for you to get the little extra, because to get the little extra, you're putting it on a credit card,
Hmm.
right? So I would say think about that, because you end up robbing Peter to pay Paul, is what my old folks used to say. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Because if you don't have the cash, you're not going to have the ability to pay that credit card back, right? Because next year, because every single month you get paid the same, right?
Hmm.
Unless you get some type of promotion every month, which most people no way does that. You put that on the credit card, and then let's say you're doing it so that you can pay it off over time. The problem is, if you have that mentality of, I need to give myself something nice, so I'm going to do that and put it on the credit card. You're going to have that mentality next month too, right?
So,
Yeah,
go
so the
ahead.
money, the cash that you would have maybe pulled from your next paycheck to start paying that back, you're not going to have, because you don't have the cash now. And next month you're going to have the same idea. I got a little bit on the card still, so I'm going to go do something nice for myself.
Hmm.
You're digging a hole that you can't get out of.
So, what if you marry somebody who's a spender like that, but you're trying to be disciplined on that particular sense? So you got that person that has that mindset of, hey, and I'm not talking about my wife, y'all. I'm not talking about my wife, but I'm just letting you know that. But they're the ones that feel like, hey, I got to get me a little something, because it's Friday, it's payday, and I want to get me something because I worked hard for it. But in a marriage, you come in the person, and the person say, hey, we cannot just get us something because we're trying to either goals, we got some goals that we're trying to go somewhere, or maybe self gratification, we're not going to do certain things,
Yep.
or
Yep.
we're living above our means, or
Yep.
I'm gonna say, I said, we're living paycheck to paycheck, but we still got that same mentality. So what would you say to those married in that type of struggle right there?
Yeah. First, you're not alone. It's normal. A lot of people are there, and um, I always point back to the budget, man. Point back to the budget. It is the thing that has helped us. We still budget today. We still have our finance meeting. We sit down and we look at all the money that's coming in, and we put a name to every dollar that's going to go out. And even today, we don't get this perfect, right? We might write down the dollar supposed to go to groceries, and it end up going to, the pool outside, because we it's green and I didn't expect it to be green. So you have those kind of issues, but if you put it all on paper and you're both looking at it, at least you're looking at the same picture. And if you want something nice for yourself, you can talk about it during the budget. Say, hey, we ain't been out in a while. Let's allocate some money to go have a nice dinner. And then at least you know that, well, okay, if we allocate this money to go have a nice dinner, maybe we can't buy, the suit or the jeans or whatever, the shoes that we're going to get this month. We have to wait till next month to get those. Right.
Mhm.
So manipulating and moving things around on that sheet of paper is going to pay dividends over not doing it and then just, plopping out the credit card that you can't
Yeah,
pay back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's both me and my wife have the same mentality, and I think what you said, we've kept a budget for many years. It helps us, establish what's going in and what's going out, of course. but also lets us know how much, hey, we spent too much this particular this month. You know, what we have, where's this money going? Um, you know, so that's the budget that lets us know that, and that's something we stay pretty tight to that budget, just because of what we're bringing in, and what we're doing. Um, and so I say to many couples, I tell a lot of couples, I said, we, because our counseling department has a financial advisor, a financial coach, I should say, and we refer them, you know, because he's very good at kind of getting people back on work. And we tell people, if you're having some money issues, just get you a financial coach to help coach you, first of all, with the mindset. Because I think that's a lot of times where it starts. Because
Oh yeah.
when you make a lot of hiccups, you fall down, like me and my wife have fell down several times. Um, um, you need somebody to change your mindset about money, you know, how money is spent. And then one of the things you said is about the consequences. You know, there is a consequence of decisions that we make when it comes to our money. And I think that's with anything, but especially when it comes to our money and working. And so I think sometimes it's hard for some to correlate that I put all this time, I want to just do something for myself, which is nothing wrong with it, but it's in confines of the budget. Am I correct by
Yes,
that?
yes, yes. You want to enjoy yourself. I mean, you don't want to work, 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 and no play, 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 play. You want to play, but to let's try to play within the confines of the money that we have versus the money that we don't have,
Mhm.
and use credit card. If you have a credit card, then use it for things like, hey, I don't trust the using my debit card when I'm traveling and when I'm doing that. So I'll use it for that. Or car broke down. I got a little bit saved, and this will go right into our segue right into our next point. I got a little bit saved, but I don't quite have enough to cover all four shocks that went out on my car or whatever, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so you can kind of do that. So that is a little segue into the next one, which is the having our next money struggle is the emergency fund or the emergency savings is thin. It's
Yeah.
not cushion. We don't have enough cushion. We got too little in the emergency fund. So let's talk about that one. About 37% of it, and this kind of shocked me a little bit. 37% of adults can't cover a $400 emergency from cash.
Yeah. That's, I would say I'm very thankful to my man uh, Dave Ramsey, because I learned early about, you know, get $1,000 emergency fund. Start with that.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said, if you got to go around your house and find what you can sell to get that, um, and I was reading that in the book. He said, if you got to go around your house and see what you can sell, and I did it. I did it to get us to a
Okay.
merchant back. You know, this is back a while
Yeah,
ago,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I had stuff that I sold, and I remember, I think, of course, I started out with zero, and looking around the house with what I can sell. There was a few things that I had that eventually got us up to about $950. $950 that we could that we had used around the house that we can find, that we kind of get that emergency fund. So that was $950. So all we had to do was come up with $50 to get that emergency fund. And so we felt like, man, we're winning. We did it. You know, that was a accomplishment for us.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, what happens? You know what happens now that you got the emergency fund is sitting there, uh, and so, man, our tires are bad. Now we need to get some more tires. So it was kind of like, we don't have to think about it. We have it because we put away for an emergency and we need tires. Can't keep on going on, with these tires like that. So it always felt good saying, hey, we got this to fall back on. So we're very religious on putting money saved to side. Now we got several ones that we have. We have we go into those little higher interest rate type of things on those online banks that we go. So we put money
Yeah,
over
the
there.
high yield savings accounts.
Yeah, so it's really harder to get access to it. It's kind of over there. I know some people don't believe in those type of things, but we try to have money in other spots. And of course, we got another bank account that holds a little bit more money over here.
Yes.
And then of course we got other our regular 401k stuff that we have that we don't touch at all. But I think sometimes for us, if you have it all in one bank account and you see it, oh, I got money there. Well, technically, that's emergency fund. That's for the $1,000,
Yep.
$2,500,
Yep. Yep.
$3,000. But then we got something over here. If something really dire happens, hey, at least we got maybe 10K over here that we're doing okay. That we can say, hey, we're just leaving it there. But if something like really happens, we need it, then boom, it's over there. And then of course we got this other one it's an ETF, something that I had for a while that has been accruing. I have not touched it. And so it's looking pretty good, but I don't, you don't think about that. But if I really had to, I got that over there too. So it's kind of like something that I just can't touch, and everything
Out
like
of
that.
sight, out of mind. Yeah, you want to
Yeah.
keep it in a place where it's not easy to just cut a check and get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm a fan of having different accounts. Like I really love like for health insurance, we have the HSA. And I love just being able to fund that thing. And I know because of this statistic, I know there are a lot of people that are not in a place where they can just throw money at a HSA. But I would say you want to be marching toward that direction because an HSA is tax free and you can use it for medical expenses, right?
Mhm.
And if you don't have any medical expenses, it just keeps growing, tax
Mhm.
free.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after a certain point down the road, then that money will just become available to you with having grown tax free. So I like having things separated out, accounts separated out, because if I have a medical emergency, that's where I go.
Yeah.
Right. I was just in the emergency room the other day or the other week due to having like an abscess or something on my back. And so I had to go to the emergency room. And that money's there to cover something like that. Right.
Yeah.
Um, or if you're going to urgent care or something like that, you get sick. So you can really parcel out this is for health, this is for the car, and you don't have to have a whole bunch of accounts, but if that's I like that approach actually.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the $400 ability to pull $400 for an emergency, I think getting on that, doing what Dennis said, where it's like, hey, find some stuff you can sell. The cat, the dog, whatever, one of your TVs, right?
Yeah.
Something, right?
Yeah.
Pawn some stuff off and get to that $1,000 because that's your accident repellent. That's your Murphy repellent,
Yeah.
right? Because if you don't have it, guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna borrow the money,
Yeah.
right? And you're gonna be
Yeah.
digging the hole again. Right.
Yeah.
So there's no way around that. You have to have, if you're driving a car, if you are walking on two legs, there's going to be emergencies. They
Yeah.
are going to happen. They are a part of life. We can't walk around like, oh, ain't nothing gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So you want to do whatever you can, sell whatever you can, scrape up whatever you can, get a second job, drive Uber, whatever to get to the $1,000.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, you want to increase that to like 3 to 6 months of expenses. So
Yeah.
Yeah, having a thin emergency savings is one of the things that we want to tackle first.
Yeah.
We want to improve that. We want to increase that cushion as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, you don't have to rely so much on debt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pull from that.
Yeah. So I definitely encourage. It worked out for me. You'd be surprised what you have in your house. I think there's many different ways you can sell stuff on the internet nowadays. We just had a car that we had to get rid of. It was sitting there. My daughter, she's now in the military, so she didn't need a car. Of course, it was my car, but the kids were using it, and it's just started. It was just sitting there. So I reached out to some people I know, and so now we got a college student that just bought our car. He's
Sweet.
using it, and so that was another, a piece of money that you could put to the side. Now the car got its usage. The car was a 2015. We got great usage out of it and everything like that, and we no longer needed it. And so that was another thing that you could look at. Hey, me sell that to get you to your $1,000. Like they said about get rid of. If you got two TVs, get rid of one TV and just go down to one TV.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's so many different things that you can look. Maybe I can't think about clothing if you don't know how much you get clothing, but there's many different other ways that you can do it. But I like also maybe just get you something temporary, another second job, just to get you to that point. I think those are some good ideas, especially depending on what your situation is. But yeah, it's always surprising. I do understand because I hear people that live like this, and $400 is not a lot of money. It's not nowadays, and so saying that you don't have $400 is sometimes it's like, ooh, it's
Yeah,
tough.
and it's almost 40% of households, right,
Yeah.
in that situation. So, yeah, so I'm thankful that you had some ideas, or that we were able to at least share some thoughts that maybe help people think about some things that they could do to get there.
Yeah.
Um, and then student loans. So this one, so I had a scholarship, so I didn't have a student loan, but my wife, when we moved out here, um, she got a small loan. I think our loan ended up being like $11,000, and then I just paid it off. From the money that I made from working. And so we were done with student loans really quickly. But a lot of people, it says 1 in 4 adults under 40 has student debt. And ages 25 to 34, average is $33,000 in student debt.
Yeah, so I had student debt, and it took forever. It took forever to pay it off.
So you
You know,
did get it paid off. How much did you pay off?
it was probably close upwards to 50, 52 grand.
Ooh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
How what was your journey like paying it off? How long did it take you to get there?
It took me almost 25 years, the course of our marriage to pay it off.
Okay.
It's something that
And
I got before we got married.
yeah,
Um, well before I got married, and I used a lot of deferments because I was going through school, for another
yeah.
school that I went through. So I defer for this one, defer for that one. Then you can't defer no more, and then so you just got to pay it. And you just got to pay it, And one of my fears, I would say I did have fears, is that I didn't want to go into default, and then they start garnishing and stuff like that. So you pay. It started out with the minimum, and then it started out just a little extra here, a little extra there, and time went on, and there was some things that I used to get some reduced payments as of being in education and stuff like that. But it took a little while. It took a little while.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and if you had to do it again, if you had to do it again, would you do it all over again?
My first initial reaction is no, and if I say it in another language, hell no. But um, uh, I understand that people got to do what they got to do. They got goals to set, and then if you don't, I don't know what other things. I know you have to really be very diligent and having other scholarships and everything like that. I think it's like this, depending on if you like, let's say if you're going back for a master's or you want to entertain a PhD and stuff like that. I think it's got to be very, very relative on what other debt do you have. You know what I'm saying? So if it's coupled with, if you still got car loans, you still got the credit card balances that we talked about, and then maybe a mortgage, then now you got to incorporate another loan into that. And so I think it goes off as being very strategic in how you do it. Not saying
Mhm.
telling you not to do it, but you just got to be very disciplined in how to do it. But I would never say for somebody to not do something. Just make sure that you know your budget allows you to. And there's ways, let's say, you might want to be able to save some money. If you don't have that student loan, you don't have credit card balances, maybe taking the time to maybe say, hey, me pay $500 for a class, to get myself there, or maybe save up, during out the semester and paying off bits and pieces. I don't know, but just think, think about the loans and the interest rates. How much of your time is going to take you to pay that off? And in my situation, it took years.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, yours wasn't that much compared to what I'm hearing and seeing today. I know if you're a doctor trying to get through medical school, um, I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
mhm.
And so I'd like to know if you are a doctor and you're listening to this, and you got through school without loans, how'd you do it? And what are some of your tips and tricks that you use to do it without loans? Or if you did do it with loans, do you think it was worth it? I know doctors or folks in that arena, they typically come out getting paid very well, doctor, lawyer, to be able to pay that down or pay that off, depending on how good of a doctor you are, right? So yeah, I'd like to hear from any doctors that are chiming in about their situation. Did they have student loans? If you had student loans, was it worth it? If you didn't, how did you navigate that? How did you make that happen? So, because that would be I think a good lesson for those who feel like the only way they could do it was through loans. So,
Yeah.
um, so the last one here that I think we'll be able to get to today is financial infidelity. So seems like couples are struggling with secrecy in their finances. And again, no condemnation here. But 40 to 50% of partnered Americans report some form of financial secrecy, including accounts, purchases. Many view it as as serious as physical infidelity. So the
Yeah.
impact on your marriage could be trust erosion, covert control, us versus me, type dynamic. So, and shame definitely can come into this where I almost kind of see it as making certain purchases or things that you want, and your spouse is not on board, so you kind of keep causes you to keep the finances separate, and oh, he won't or she won't see what I'm doing over here. This is my money. I make my money. So those can be serious. It can have serious ramifications on your marriage. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have never been through anything like that in our marriage. There's never been something that And if I did not tell my wife about something, it was something that was so minute, $20 or under or something like that. And I'm not trying to minimize what we're talking about because some people are dealing with that. But I just never dealt with it. And so, but I can understand when you anything of secrecy, anything of secrecy, that could bring a level of distrust in a relationship that can start, cracking the foundation of what you build that marriage upon. And so when it comes to finances, whether you got to ask yourself, why am I doing this? And you got to ask yourself the question, how come my spouse don't need to know about this?
Mm.
Because it goes back to what you were saying earlier, even with the spending. It's There's a consequence behind your decision, and no longer is it necessarily about money. It's about something else. You know how we talk about
Mhm.
sometimes when people are angry, usually anger is a secondary emotion. There's something before that emotion that's really causing you to be angry. I think that's something
Yeah.
else. When you talk about, it's not just about money anymore. It's about something else that's going on. There's some fear. There's some rejection. You're not healed from maybe something that happened in your past, and now you're bringing that into your marriage. So that's a tough one, and I think I think I would say if that's something that's happening, is to seek out some safe people that you can help navigate this. Go to counseling, or maybe even if it's something that hey, this is something I need to handle individually, because it's not my spouse. It's really, I got to own this one. It's been me, and I need help. And I think for the sake of your marriage, finding out what's going on to deal with that issue. Because I think a spouse should be full. It should be full and transparent. Me and my wife, we for the 23 years that we've been married, everything has gone into one pot. We have never had separate accounts or anything like that. My wife knows everything that's coming in. When she wants to even look at how much I brought in, she have access to my ADP, and I let her know. So it's nothing that I'm trying to keep secret. There's nothing that I look at it from this standpoint. If anything happens to me, I would want her to know or be able to access certain things, and vice versa. If anything happens to her, I would want her to be able to. I wouldn't want to know passwords, and just in case. And
Yeah.
so the secrecy, for me, again, I don't understand, because you're one, you're a team, and so I want my spouse to know. But in those situations, in my opinion, I'm stating that I would probably want to go through some counseling to help give me a perspective of why I do what I do, and why am I keeping this a secret? Why am I keeping this stash over here? Because if there's a trust issue with the spouse, then that's something, then definitely you want to handle that, from that standpoint. Maybe your spouse is constantly spending, and you're trying to sustain the household. Well, that's still a problem. You still want to make sure that you guys can get on the same page, from that standpoint. But if it's
Yeah, and
something
these are
else,
not
but yeah,
I was just gonna say these are not things that you cannot work through, right? Even if you are having a fidelity issue, right, having some secrecy, if you are willing to grow, you can overcome that.
yeah,
Right? If you got married and and you are serious about till death do us part, then you and your spouse can work through that issue. Y'all can get
mhm,
over that. If you're willing to um, offer that up to them, right? To say, hey, I did this, or I was keeping this secret because of XYZ. I was ashamed, or I was afraid I wouldn't be in control, or that you would be in control. I was afraid of the way that you handle certain things. You have those conversations, maybe even in the presence of a counselor, or just in a situation where you're in a calm state. Then you can work through some of the issues that seem like they are you're seem like you're unable to overcome, that they may be
Mhm.
too difficult to deal with. But with God, all things are possible, right?
Yeah.
So if you can put it out in front of him, then he'll show you the way to speak to your spouse and to get it out in the open to work through the issue. So folks are coming through on this student loan thing here now. So Troy said 2 on the student loan ROI. Troy, if you could give me a complete sentence on that, like what do you mean in terms of the student loans? Like, did you have student loans, or did you? Because I asked the question if you have doctors, and Troy is a doctor. Did you have a student loan, and or did you go through school without a student loan? And if you went through without one, how did you do that? Right. So I think what he's saying in terms of the ROI, you just have to weigh the pros and cons of how much debt you're willing to accumulate based on how much you're going to feel like you're going to end up making as a doctor,
Yeah.
to see if it's worth it. But you can clarify for me, Troy, if that's what you mean. Kathy says, I have a student loan, but it turns out it's not something I want. Let me see. It's not something I want to pursue like I thought. Okay, so that's a situation that we get into sometimes where you pursue a degree, you get a loan for it, and then when you graduate, that's not what you want to do, or that's not what you're good at, or the
Yeah.
money that you make from that doesn't give you the ROI that you need to pay it off.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
So
that's a huge thing that is happening now as a consultant for people who lose their jobs.
mhm,
A lot of times, you start seeing some of these people who have certain type of degrees, and with they're really the market is changing and things are happening, and so that's one of the things I had told my kids that I saw. I was looking. I like to look out into the future and see, like, is the degree that you're having now, is it going to be something that you'll be able to do later? And sometimes you got to figure out. And then you're as life changes, sometimes you don't want to do what you used to do. I went to school for science, and I worked in the science field for a while, but after a while my heart changed, and now more into counseling and more into all these other things. And so life changes, and it's not to say that it's wrong, or anything like that. It's just, unless if you know you're going to be a doctor and you go through those all that residencies and all those other type of stuff, best believe that's something, hopefully that's been a part of your passion. But sometimes it's tough. It's a tough area to deal with when you don't get the return on the investment that you had. It's tough. It's really
yeah,
tough.
yeah. And some people even do that. I mean, I've seen people talk about how they went to school to be a lawyer and they end up being an online influencer. It's like,
Yeah.
and maybe they have some of what they learned in their in law school that they are, teaching online or something, but that's totally different from being a lawyer, right? You're not
Yeah.
in the courtroom and you don't have clients, and you're online influencing people trying to make money off of advertising. So
Yeah.
it can be rough. It can be tough having put all that money into a degree that you're like, it's not what I want to do.
Yeah. And I like what Troy said. He says, will your profession pay off the debt? I think that's really good, because when you go to school, you make that investment. Troy, who has a thriving business, he does stuff for myself. You know, will you that profession that you're going into be able to pay off the debt? If I go into engineering and you accrue, 40,000 and up debt, will the profession that you're going into be able to take it? Because I mean, pay it off. Because you think about it, a lot of people who go to college coming right out don't get those high paying jobs right away. They got to work up to those, and
Mhm.
may for a few years at least. At least I think. I might be wrong on that, but you know, so it just takes, again, goes back to that one word we said. It just goes back to discipline.
Yes, yes. So the last two here, I think we can cover real quickly, or last three here: money conflicts, home ownership barriers, and then role overload. So in terms of the money conflicts, um, I'll just read the statistic here: 45% of couples um, argue about money at least occasionally, and finances are a primary conflict in 40% of relationships. So we know at the top of the list, money is there, and having money conflicts and misalignments about money. And so the impact is recurring arguments, uh, lower satisfaction, and higher breakup risk. Right. So when you're fighting about money all the time and you can't get on the same page about money. And I think Dennis and I talked about some ways. Budget is one where you can have a budget, seeking outside counsel. Kendra and I, we had a financial coach at one point because we were butting heads. We just couldn't see eye to eye. And the financial coach came in and was able to allow us both to air our grievances and speak our mind and see each other's perspective. So that helps. So having that budget and if you're just at each other and can't find common ground, get some help. Get a third party. Very helpful, therapeutic. Home ownership barriers: only 1 in 8 renters can afford a median priced home today. Ownership costs often are greater than 2 times the average rent. So this is a difficult one, right? A lot of our wealth, especially in America, is from owning homes. I think it's somewhere like 90% of your wealth typically will come from buying a house, holding on to it for a while, and allowing it to accumulate in terms of it's appreciate. So the impact here, and this impact is real. We're talking to a couple earlier this month, I think it was, or last month. They get frustrated and they start feeling stuck because they can't immediately own a home after they got married, right? So It's like, it's okay to rent for a little bit. It's okay to rent, even if that little bit is 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever. You're going to be married forever, right? And homes aren't going to go anywhere. And yes, they're going to continue to appreciate and going to continue to go up, but you kind of want to make sure that you are in a place where you can really afford the home that you're buying, so you're not house poor, right? So anything you want to say on that one?
No, I agree. I think again, renting could be good for some, and I think over a period of time, again, I think the most important thing is to be able, and I think we talked about this last time, is be able to delay gratification. And sometimes renting is a good thing for people because your first, especially your first years of your marriage, you want somebody else to cover those costs of the maintenance of the house or the place that you're staying in, and then you're able to not go into a situation house poor where you're able just to make the payment, but there's other costs that are associated with that house. So I agree with you 100%.
So I posted this up here from Troy. I'm wondering if it was a typo. He said $50,000 to $750,000 in debt to be a dentist. I'm thinking he's mean 50 to 75,000. So Troy, clarify that for us before we jump off tonight. And then role overload, single partner burden. So 1 in 5 primary decision makers feel resentful handling finances alone. So this can definitely be a problem when you feel like your partner has checked out on you when it comes to finances. Again, I go back to the budget. If you have a budget, maybe one person is the nerd, the other person is the one that just kind of listens and makes sure that what they want is a part of the budget. But having both people have some say so in terms of how the budget is set, what gets spent, and all of that is very, very important. So if you're not in, and you can start to deal with resentment, and that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing when it comes to the money. So we want to have both people involved, both people dealing with it, not one person burdened with making sure that both of you guys are doing what it takes to make sure your household is moving forward and not sinking or sinking into debt. All right. So, all right. So we've covered the top 10 money struggles. We got through it. We're a little over time tonight, but we got started about 5 minutes late tonight. So thank you guys for hanging in there with us. And if you want to go into any details on any particular topic where the money is concerned, or maybe we didn't hit a pain point that you're dealing with, let us know. So Troy has another house now. If you can't afford the one you want to live in, you can buy and fix and flip, or fix and rent, or fix and live in there knowing it's your ideal home. All right. Thanks for that, Troy. And then one last from Troy. Wow. 650 to 750,000 today. Early 90s, I had 75K in debt. Most people in my class. Whoa. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot.
That is a lot. 650K?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Whew.
My goodness.
This is
oh my God.
Dennis. So that's a lot of debt to deal with, right? So
yeah.
Dennis,
I think you just end on that note. I don't even know how to I don't even know how to handle that much, but I know Troy will be able to speak to it more on an expert standpoint from that standpoint. But for a brother like me, if I came out with 650,000 K in debt, oh, he said a lot of pulling. Oh, okay, yeah. He's a dentist. I get it. Lots of pulling of teeth.
yeah.
Oh goodness, but yeah, that's whew. Wow.
Yeah. So you can see kind of the burden for today in terms of being a dentist, right? You could end up with $650,000 to $750,000 in debt before you even get started, right? So that's a big hole. That's a big hole that you're gonna need a big shovel to dig yourself out of. So,
yeah, I don't have nothing to say on that one. Yeah.
I didn't expect that. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing that, Troy. All right, y'all. So that's the top 10 money struggles that couples are dealing with. We kind of talked through some of that. We gave some, practical examples of how we dealt with these situations, how we are dealing with them even now. If you need help with them or you need encouragement, feel free to reach out to us on any of our channels, DM us, and we're constantly praying for our community. We do have counseling resources. The Bullocks do counseling. So if you're at each other's throats or not seeing each other, seeing eye to eye, or need some help in these situations, we can definitely point you to some good professional folks that can help you through, right? Help you navigate the waters.
Yeah, and if you are dealing with any type of financial, you want financial coaching, we also have access to people who do those particular things, and so we can make sure that's available for you. So, believe that will be very helpful.
Yep. And at the end of the day, there is hope, right? On the other side, you can work through all of these issues together, and that's what marriage is about: is working through the issues together, hitting them head on, and working as a team. Right? Marriage is a team sport. All right. So thanks, guys, for hanging in there with us tonight. And we will see you next Monday right here. Thank you. Peace. We love you. Good night.
Peace.